Hello, San Francisco, and welcome once again to the Angelic Troublemakers. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and on today's program, a good prison break, but I'm bringing you this program based on some exciting news on prison reform. In the state of Oklahoma, uh, they passed a law back in 2016, and it was basically bringing down some of the punishment for nonviolent crimes, as I understand it. Well, the new governor who came into office in January of this year, working with the legislature, he signed a bill into law that would make that new law retroactive back to the year 2016. The result was last week, the state of Oklahoma released more than 462 inmates in one day. Now, I think that that is progress on prison reform. Uh, but I'm going to play, if I can, a little bit of the story. I posted it on my website, CaliforniaClemency.com. CaliforniaClemency.com is my uh, project for the year 2020, in which I claim there's a better way to handle prison reform with a comprehensive approach by making clemency uh, the balancing factor in all of prison reform. Now, I'm going to go to my news section on my website, and I'm going to try and play this uh, short video here, and it's encouraging. It really is. Uh, Take a listen. Uh oh. Well, I guess I did something wrong. But anyway, it's on my website, and I forgot to cue in the timing. But this new Oklahoma law releases 462 inmates in one day. And the governor is proud, his wife is helping, and these people are receiving benefits and, like assistance in housing, getting a driver's license or ID. And it is said that Oklahoma has the largest per capita of incarcerated people. They were just throwing people in prison left and right. That son in the blue is happy to have his mother back. But the thing is in this issue, and please forgive me, I definitely wanted to play the thing, but you can follow it on my news portion of California Clemency. But the thing is I see that as progress. But, and it, though I call it a prison break, the issue is we see what can happen. But how it's happening, there's a danger. Because if you don't have the appropriate services for so many people coming out at one time, there's going to be an awful lot of people lost. Will all 462 inmates that were released in Oklahoma stay out of prison? Common sense says no. Now, 70% approximately reoffend when they're released from prison anyway. So I will like to monitor this situation in Oklahoma, because if they don't have the right apparatus, the right programs in place, what's going to happen is many more who would otherwise make it on the outs are going to get caught up in a bureaucracy issue to where they're going to give up, revert back to the drugs that got them incarcerated in the first time. Then they're going to get back into the system. It was sad to read in one New York Times article on the same subject, where one lady who was released in a non-violent methamphetamine conviction, she was serving 10 years. She had already served 3 years when the governor did this retroactive signing and releasing of these prisoners. You know, her comment was, if it had not been for the governor signing this new law, she'd have 7 more years on her sentence for a simple methamphetamine. And not that it's simple, I mean, I understand it's a dangerous drug, but the fact of the matter is it was nonviolent. She didn't kill anybody, didn't rob anybody. And so the thing is, it's a good indication that somewhere in this country, people are getting it. Now, a few years ago, President Barack Obama, commuted the sentence of 167 inmates on a federal level. Federal and state are two different things. No president can commute the sentence of a state inmate. So when you look at the fact that some are waking up to the fact that people can be released safely, they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't have the confidence that this can be done safely. Well, I'm saying California clemency, when I designed it, common sense suggested that I put in it some rather safe measures to ensure who we release from prison are the best of the bunch. In the California prison system, there's what's known as a person's central file. This central file is the file on every inmate, and it tells how they have conducted themselves while they've been locked up. Now, if you have a thick file of discipline, well, we gonna let you at the front of the line? No. But under this new California clemency that I have designed, even people who have a thick file will have an opportunity to turn their life around in prison and get released early. Now, I'm not talking about child molesters, serial killers, and just people bent on evil and bent on committing crime. God forbid that I would have created something looking for the blessings of God and to have it have no safety measures. However, when you do want to put something together, even the best intentions can go astray if it isn't done right. And I am encouraged by what Oklahoma has done. California was forced to do it by court. They released like 40,000. I don't know where they put those 40,000. Many of them are in our jails, but many of them were shipped out of state. And I think we're trying to get some of them back in state. But a lot of these low-level criminals are filling up our jails and causing problems. I read where suicides in county jails have risen. And you can get the correlation to a more crowded jail system. Now, if I could just briefly, I don't like to brag on San Francisco political apparatus too much. But I will have to confess, I don't know what we've been doing. And this is even under former Sheriff Michael Hennessy. But for years, San Francisco has been on the top when it comes to incarcerating people. And while they're waiting to go through the whole court system, they have generally been, above average. True, there are way too many blacks and minorities incarcerated, but San Francisco has had a situation where its jails have not been to capacity for quite some time. And that's interesting. People should look into what is San Francisco doing that people are not filling up the jails as they are in other areas. But the fact that we have ourselves in a situation where, we're basically doing something right. There aren't a bunch of people killing themselves in county jails. There are some jails Kern County has in the state has the highest rate of suicides per whatever. And there's an awful lot of jails, not prisons, but jails that have showed an increase in suicides. We need to get a hold of that. And I say the one way to get a hold of it is that when we look at what we're doing in our prison system, if we lower the rate of people who are safely now, lower the rate of people who are locked up in our prison system, we will be able to handle more easily additional prisoners and not clog up the jails with people who are not necessarily eligible to be released, but they come down into that system because a court said so, because California, they were really over the top. Now, what I'm saying here is there is a better way to handle people who are locked up. The way we should handle it is to look for better ways to reduce the prison population safely. And I personally designed California Clemency with in mind finding innocent people who are locked up and using this new clemency process to get them released from prison in a streamlined manner. And I'm saying that by seeing how this can happen, we're going to find out just how manageable it can be to have people locked up for the crimes that they've committed, but not losing their mind trying to get released or dealing with being incarcerated. Now, I have a sad story to tell, and this sad story, I'm going to try and tell it exactly how I learned about it, but it's out of the state of Texas. But I'm using it to illustrate my California Clemency.com and my California Clemency Board's invention. There's an inmate by the name of Rodney Reed. He's the gentleman on the left. And this gentleman, on November 20th, is scheduled to be executed for the murder of the white woman in the center. But the evidence should suggest he's innocent. And the man on the right is the real killer. Now, this Rodney Reed is going through the appeals process. He has a few appeals going on, and more than 2 million people have come to his defense, claiming he is innocent based on what they found out. The Innocence Project is working with him to get him released. The governor in Texas, Greg Abbott, is taking his time. Why, I do not know. But I've seen some disturbing aspects of this case that lets me know a good prison break in one state, and right next door, this is happening. Oklahoma let 462 people out of prison early, and everybody's celebrating. But how can we really celebrate when you consider the fact that an innocent man is being locked up and close to being executed? Now I'm going to read off 10 issues in this case of Rodney Reed. Number 1, the murder weapon has never been tested for DNA evidence. What's up with that? Now, they have been repeatedly denied the opportunity by the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals to have this murder weapon tested for DNA evidence. The Innocence Project will suggest that the man on the right, his DNA is on it and not Rodney Reed. Now, there was number 2, state's 3 forensic experts have admitted on court records there was errors, which led to Reed's conviction and death sentence. 3 forensic experts. Now, there has been this forensic pathologist by the name of Michael Batten. He is among several very well known who have concluded Reed's guilt is medically and scientifically impossible. That's the third one. Why is Greg Abbott dragging his feet? Rodney Reed and Stacy Stites were having a consensual relationship. But the man on the right, Jimmy Finnell, was to be married to this Stacy Stites, the woman in the middle. Stick with me. Well, this man is somewhat of a white supremacist. And he didn't like the fact that he found out that his girlfriend was having relationships with a black man. Well, they didn't talk about Rodney Reed and Stacy Stites having a consensual sexual relationship. At the time of the trial, no one came forward to corroborate their relationship. Now, why is that? Today, new witnesses, including Stites' own cousin and co-worker, have corroborated Reed's claim that they knew that Reed and Stites were romantically involved. Number 5. For months, not F-O-U-R, but for months after the murder, Jimmy Finnell, the man on the right, was the prime suspect in the case. Well, why did they let him go? Finnell's best friend at the time was a sheriff. This Finnell guy was also a sheriff. Or cop, I don't know what. But he said that during the interview, Finnell gave inconsistent account of where he was on the night of the murder. What's up with that? A cop told investigators that the suspect, Finnell, the white man, gave some inconsistent accounts, and y'all didn't look into that? Well, something's funny there. Number 7. 2 witnesses came forward in recent weeks and submitted signed affidavits that add to the mounting evidence against Jimmy Finnell. Now, this Finnell guy was a real peach. Finnell later served a 10-year prison term for a sex crime and kidnapping. I'm not saying that Rodney Reed was some peach. I think he, too, had a history of doing silly things to women. But the fact that this case has so many red flags, you're going to deny this man the opportunity to bring this forward? The case was racially charged. Reed, a black man, and was found guilty of murdering Stites, a white woman. We know how those things go. They contend to be a given in situations like this. But it said that a confession by Jimmy Finnell has come to light. Now, I'm not saying that the person who said this is all that believable. You know how these things go when you have jailhouse snitches and stuff like that. But on October 29, 2019, Arthur Snow, a former member of the Aryan Brotherhood and prison mate of Jimmy, disclosed a conversation in which Jimmy confessed of murdering Stites, stating, "I had to kill my nigger loving fiance." Well, this is going on right next door to where 462 low level prisoners are being released. Now, how can we have this one state right next to another going on? We need consistency. CaliforniaClemency.com. California Clemency Boards, which I created, was designed for any state in the nation to be able to, so it could be modified for any state to streamline the process to where people can get justice, to where we don't have people sitting in a prison for nearly 20 years for a crime that they did not commit, where they go through appeal after appeal after appeal, knowing that the courts aren't interested. They're just taking the word for the lower level court decision and the juries. I'm saying that we can do better. And for the next year, and hopefully with success, I believe that I have to dedicate my whole program to a better prison system, starting in the state of California, and hopefully over the next few years, seeing it catch fire all across the country, not to release a bunch of people who are in prison and deserve to be, but real justice. I have a saying. The only thing that I love more than justice is the freedom to fight for it. And I'm fighting for the justice in not only Rodney Reed, but there's an awful lot of Rodney Reeds sitting in prison. And I'm saying that we all need to really take a look at reform from a different perspective. You've heard the term prison reform, and everybody's running around. They got all kind of ideals, but you will never hear anyone talk about the most powerful tool in our criminal justice system. That most powerful tool is clemency. And to use it to balance out the injustices, because a person who is convicted of a crime should have an opportunity to go to my California Clemency Board to get relief when they know good and well they are being mistreated and used and abused in the criminal justice system, to where instead of going through appeal after appeal after appeal after appeal, they can cut right through it and bring all of this evidence, in the case of Rodney Reed, to this new clemency board, and the governor doesn't have to be bothered. After all, let's face it, they're busy anyway. So, until next time, I'll have another story. CaliforniaClemency.com.